All right, this is Ranking of Cage, episode 10, Vampire's Kiss. Vampire's Kiss was released in 1988. It's set in 1980s New York City. We have Peter Lowe, played by Nicolas Cage. Um, we have Alva, who is his employee slash kind of assistant where he works. And she's played by Maria Conchita Alonso. We have Rachel, who is a vampire, played by Jennifer Beals. We have Peter Lowe's therapist, Dr. Glazer, played by Elizabeth Ashley, and a woman that Peter Lowe is seeing, Jackie, played by Cassie Lemons. So Peter Lowe is a horrible manager and not friendly to most people that he runs into. The movie kind of goes between Peter going out in New York, Peter at his job, and Peter seeing his therapist. And then later in the movie, we'll get to that. So initially, we follow Peter as he's going out in New York City with Jackie, a woman he's been seeing. When they get back to his apartment, they're making out and taking clothes off, and a bat flies into the window. Um, they run out and leave the apartment. They freak out because the bat's there. They run out and leave. And then Peter seems to feel really weird about the bat experience and actually goes on to discuss it with his therapist and says, "Oh, I was aroused by the bat." Um, it was weird. And so on another night, Peter meets a girl named Rachel at a bar. And then after they're talking, we see them back at his apartment where it's revealed that Rachel is a vampire right before she bites Peter. So after this, we kind of go through scenes as Peter is transforming into a vampire. He still goes on being terrible to his employees, especially Alva, who is like his assistant, and he's berating her constantly. And there's this document he needs to find for a client that he's become completely obsessed with, and he basically goes after Alva every day about this. And then we have scenes with Rachel the vampire who visits him and bites him again, which I don't know if that's part of the vampire transition process. I don't know what's going on there. We have scenes of Peter talking to his therapist, becoming more and more kind of awkward and like something's going on with him. And then after further into this, we have Peter like parading around the city telling everyone he's a vampire. He buys some plastic like vampire teeth. And then eventually this culminates. He goes to a club, finds a woman by herself, and then he murders her by drinking her blood. He also runs into Rachel here and tells everybody she's a vampire. Um, Following this, one day Alva takes a sick day. So Peter goes and looks up her information and address in the office Rolodex. Um, Rolodex, for those who don't know, is like a way people used to keep addresses. So it's just like a bunch of tabs on a thing you can spin through before you had a computer to store all that information, really. Um, so uh, Peter goes to her house and picks her up, and he tries to like apologize and say, I understand. I'm sorry the way I yelled at you. And he goes through a constant changing of emotions through this like work day. He picks up Alva and takes her to work, and he goes from being like understanding and apologetic to then threatening her like a minute later. And this culminates in the end of the day where Alva finds the document and then she brings it to Peter. It's late at night and Peter claims it's too late. Then Peter proceeds to chase her around the office building. It's late at night, and then he bites her, and it's said after that he raped her. It doesn't show it, but that's what he says he did after. Then after this, Peter's walking around the city in a daze. He's covered in blood and talking to himself. He finds a wood pallet and rips a piece off and makes a wood stake. Um, and he's talking to people and asking them if they'll help kill him by putting the stake through his heart because he's a vampire. Meanwhile, Alva tells her brother about Peter and what he did. So they're camping outside of Peter's residence, like waiting for him. So he shows up back home, and then Alva's brother follows him into his place. And then when he gets inside, basically Alva's brother's gonna try and like fight him, and he like basically holds the stake and tries to stab himself, and then Alva's brother helps stab him, and then he gets stabbed through the heart with a wood stake, and he's a vampire, so that kills him. and that's the end of the movie. He dies.
Well, I think the idea for the movie was
Right.
good. Like to me, it was the classic, antisocial, schizophrenic
Mhm.
deterioration movie, right?
Mhm.
Like to me, it it was pretty clear that he had schizophrenia or some sort of, I don't know, mental illness.
Right. Yeah, it's confusing I was confused as to what they were saying was real.
Well, the biggest thing that stood out to me was after she bit him the first time, I
Mhm.
think he kind of made it up in his brain that she had the fangs and
Mhm.
like that she was a vampire based off his experience with the bat. Like
Mhm.
she had somehow transformed from a bat into a
Right.
person,
Right.
and then like she was, I don't know, interested in him and he was interested in her because he got aroused from the bat, let's say.
Right.
Um but then, like, in the morning, he made coffee and, like, brought it to the bed, and you
And she
see
wasn't
there's no
there.
one there,
Right.
and he's, like, shaking,
Mhm.
and all of that. So to me, from there, I was like, "Oh, he has schizophrenia and she's not real."
Right,
Like,
so she was never
right
real.
away.
Yeah.
Right away, I was like, "Okay, I feel like they could have done that a little better, like, leave some mystery and like kind of build up to that point." But for me, it was pretty clear, and then you can kind of see it the way he acts. Like you said,
Mm.
he's sometimes like happy, and then he just gets pissed off.
Right, yeah, they're, like, showing his,
It
like,
was
real.
just class to me. It was just classic mental illness, antisocial stuff that was going on, hallucinations,
Mhm.
everything you can think of.
Right.
Um, Mental deterioration, essentially,
Mhm.
and um, I mean, Nicolas Cage, he played, he did it well, I thought.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like he did it well, but it didn't work for me. Like the idea of the movie, I think it was good in concept. This guy
Mhm.
goes crazy thinking he's a vampire because one night he hooked up and this girl so happened to bite his neck while they were making love.
Right, and that's the part where I was so the line of reality, I guess, right? So, she's not a vampire, but she does exist, and she did bite him? So
Yeah, that's
she
what I gathered is
okay.
they were making love. She bit his neck as like a sign of passion or something like
Mhm.
that. And he, because of his prior experience where the bat flew in through his window, he like his brain like made that connection like, oh, she's a vampire.
Mhm.
And then from that point on, she would show up as a hallucination as like
Mhm.
his mistress or whatever, which
Right.
was causing him his like relationship issues.
Right.
And then Alpha just so happened to be in the crossfire of his mental deterioration where
Mhm.
I think the contract to me was like his sanity was like
Mhm.
he was trying to like grab back into reality, was like
Mhm.
this contract is what's keeping him kind of connected, and then ultimately that kind of fell through as well.
I
So
gotcha.
that's kind of how I read it. I thought it went a little too long,
Yeah.
and it was pretty clear to me what was going to happen in the
Right,
end.
that is yeah.
So, but yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. It was different, I guess. Like it didn't feel like other movies I'd watched. Like had originality to it. Um, I think like I don't know, I got like the vibes of like he treated all the women he interacted with terribly and like but then this vampire woman was kind of treating him like shit. Like it was like a play on that, but then she's not real. So or she is, but his hallucinations of her. So it's like a um I, I I don't know if there's something there or not, but it was. I mean, Nicholas, the cagey and freakouts were abundant here. I the scene where he's walking around the city in the daytime and like, oh my gosh, I was laughing at that, and I did find it like just wild, just like absolutely wild. Like he's like a vampire and he's like, oh, I got to get this wood stake through my heart because I'm a vampire and that's how you kill a vampire. And then when he sleeps under the couch, he has the couch flipped over so it opens up like a coffin. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Innovative.
Or when he ate the cockroach, or when he ate a wild
Yeah,
pigeon, I was like, oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah.
But it was, again, the idea. Like, I feel like it could have been a good idea, and I think
Right.
as an investor, I'd been like, oh yeah, like that's like a cool idea. And then I see the final product, I'm like, what the fuck did I just pay for?
I, yeah, it yeah, it was almost confusing at times trying to because like there's scenes where he does talk to his therapist, and then it's like, oh, but this time he's hallucinating it. And it's like maybe it's a thing where you watch the movie twice and a lot of it becomes more clear when you're watching it a second time through. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, where he's running around screaming as a vampire and then he gets on the call, his demeanor during those scenes I thought was acted very well. Um
Yeah, his vampire face when he was walking through the club, where he's like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Like
I
this
was like,
is
how are people not like moving away from him?
right. Um did you guys notice like the ominous music cues? Like more towards the beginning of the movie, like where it would just start this heavy level of ominous music, like just for like I felt like it went on for like a minute before anything happened. Um Maybe they could have mixed that ominous music in a little lower.
Yeah, I think they were trying to kind of do some deeper, I don't know, like music
Mhm.
and cinematography, where they're trying to link the bat with his mental illness. Maybe, I don't know. I think that would help if you watched it a second time. Was maybe you could pick up on some of these foreshadowing and
Right.
other I don't know, cinema devices, I guess.
Yeah, and I
But
don't right, and I don't know if it's stuff I was missing or if it was just like not crafted together in a way to explain itself. Um
right, I think it was trying to be a very deep and,
mhm,
I don't know, complex movie,
right.
but it didn't get the job done, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think, Kudrow? Got any thoughts?
This movie's insane. Uh, I mean the scene. I feel like bouncing off of that. Like, God, I don't know. I know this movie is like listed as a horror comedy. Like, I don't really feel like this movie did that well at either. To be honest, there were a couple scenes that got a good laugh out of me, but interestingly enough, it wasn't the overacting that did it. Like Nicolas Cage is just chewing the scenery throughout this entire film. But the only one that did was like in the therapist office where Nicolas Cage is like screaming about the contract and how someone could have misfiled it,
Yeah.
and then just starts like exclaiming the punctuating for emphasis, like going through the alphabet.
Oh, yeah, the way he does still alphabet. Yeah, that was good. I
Yeah,
like
but that it wasn't even him doing that. It was the therapist immediately, just in his deadpan way of speech, is like, very, very good. You know your alphabet.
yeah. Yeah,
that,
I
that
was
got a
like
good chuckle.
I was entertained by the ride of like the absurdity.
Yeah,
I did like that
yeah,
for the most part.
yeah. But I did a little bit of like looking into online,
Mhm.
but there's only one theory about this movie that makes any sense to me. Uh, apparently, the bat in the beginning of film.
Is her, right?
Well,
Not her.
I mean,
Oh,
if you take
rabies.
rabies, exactly. If Nicolas Cage got bit by a vampire, got bit by the bat, and has rabies, the list of symptoms of which can include things like aggressive behavior and hallucinations. That is the only way this movie makes any level of sense to me.
Yeah, that does make sense. I never thought about that. One thing that was going through my brain though, when I was like, this random woman was just showing up in his home, I was like, he never locks his door. He never once in the movie locks his door or unlocks his door. They come up to his apartment, they just walk in. He leaves his apartment, they don't show him locking the door. I'm assuming that's done on purpose, but it was
Yeah.
still something that was kind of going through my brain. It's like, oh, this is,
Mhm.
this is how this crazy woman is making it his way or her way
Right.
into this house.
And it's like the movie's called Vampire's Kiss. So then is it weird if there's no actual vampires in the movie?
Well,
Um,
there's an imaginary one.
right.
Nicolas Cage is a vampire.
So, but okay, the rabies thing, but wouldn't he? So he was only aggressive towards certain people, though. Like he was yelling at the people in the street, but he wasn't like physically doing anything to them. So the only thing with that
Well,
is,
I mean, there was like the one scene though where he entered before he entered the club, where he ended up biting and killing that woman. Like
right,
he just immediately pushed through the crowd in front of the club and then
sure,
punched out the oh
but
god, what's the phrase for him?
isn't
Security
rabies just
guard, bouncer.
Yeah, the
isn't
bouncer. Yeah.
right?
So
But isn't rabies like a progressive thing, like where once he was doing that, he wouldn't go back to then just acting kind of normal and uh,
I
like
I am not going to pretend to be an expert on rabies.
no,
I
I
don't
get
know.
I get it, but that's my only thing with that is it's like because then he still goes back into like his emotional like rapid changes and he's nice to Alva, then he threatens her and like he's
Well,
almost like more calculated than a rabid animal.
I mean, even if you have rabies, like I mean, I feel like it's not gonna like shut down your cortex all at once. And at that point in time, it was clearly like you can tell, like the later scenes, like that kindness he was showing Alpha was not genuine. That
Right.
was he was literally just manipulating and baiting her to take her back to the office where he could continue to torment her. That's all it was.
I guess I don't know enough about rabies either. So I I really don't know though. Like I agree. It's like it makes sense what Quinn's saying that the girl is real, but she's not a vampire. And he's like just got some kind of mental issues going on that create all of this kind of uh
Yeah. Well, I feel like because they introduce him at the
right.
psychiatrist like pretty early in the movie
Mhm.
to introduce him, he does have some sort of mental
Mhm.
issues. I mean, I know he talks about depression as I think what he's, the reason for him going to therapy, but I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that that could be the issue. I guess that's where my mind immediately kind of jumps to.
Hmm. Yeah, I like think this movie maybe is worth seeing but it's like it's different, it's wild, it's out there. I think a lot of just the scenes that happen in Cage's freakouts are entertaining to watch. I did chuckle when I saw the couch thing that he sleeps under because it opens like a coffin. That was,
They even added a
um,
creaking noise when it would go up
yeah,
and down.
yeah, and the plastic vampire teeth and him just like frolicking around and oh, it was kind of funny.
I laughed when
Yeah.
he was chasing the pigeon, trying to grab a
Yeah.
pigeon. I was like, "Oh my god!"
I feel like Josh would appreciate this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad he's not here actually. I don't know. To me, this movie is like you watch it for the memes. This
No.
is a watch it for the memes in purest form.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, any other things to say about this one? Um,
No,
yeah. So,
we can rank
what
it.
yeah, let's rank it. What do you guys think?
I have no idea.
You know, it's I got to give it points for its originality, and then I got to dock points for I don't just me being kind of confused, and maybe that's my fault.
Well, I feel like being confused is kind of
Part of
is
it,
part of the point.
yeah.
So
I want to say it's a B movie that doesn't execute, so it's a C. I think it's a C because I think it's the looking at like the D category of Nicolas Cage movies. I think it's above that, but I don't think it's a B. I really think it sits nicely in a C for me. So I'll go. Is it a C plus or just a C? Vampire's Kiss. Oh God, some of the scenes are so funny though, where he does the alphabet. Oh, if you showed me that again right now, I'd laugh. His just the way he says it. Like I don't even like his accent in the movie, but his freak out scenes are just they're great. Um, I gotta go C plus. I'm going C plus. This movie's wild. C plus for the alphabet rendition. Cujo, what do you think?
God, I don't know.
Quinn, you got any idea?
Yeah. I was gonna go with E, but then I was looking at my other E's. I do think it's better than Birdie, so I'm gonna go with a D. I don't think it's better than Boy in Blue.
Oh,
So
this
a
movie.
D for me.
I feel like most movies are better than Boy in Blue.
No,
Personally,
Boy in Blue is a classic.
It's a classic.
Hey, you know what? What sucks back then still sucks now.
Name a better rowing movie.
Name another rowing movie.
That's a good counterpoint.
Well, in the social network, there's a little bit of rowing in the beginning.
Oh jeez.
Oh God.
Where are you between? What's your
I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. Like this movie's not bad. I mean, the memes and the overact. This is the most overacted movie I have ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
I can't say I was ever bored watching this movie, but I feel like this movie's listed as a horror comedy, and I don't really feel like it was that funny, and I don't really feel like it was that scary.
No,
So
I mean,
okay. C or D plus? C or D plus? Where am I at there? I'm gonna say it's a D plus. I think.
a D plus. All right. Well, let's pull up our overall list here. All right. All right. So based on our ratings, it looks like we're somewhere up in here. So I'll start off the bidding. I'll say bottom of the C tier. What do you guys think?
I disagree, but
Okay. Kudrow?
I think, yeah.
Wait, hold on. I thought Peggy Sue Got Married at a D plus. This movie's better than Peggy Sue Got. No, it's a C. It's
a C. All right, Kudrow. Does it go in the bottom of the C tier, or are we down in the D tier? Quinn and
I think now it has to go in the bottom of the C tier.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, how do we think it compares to? Do we think it goes Racing with the Moon, Leaving Las Vegas, bottom of the C tier?
Well, I think Leaving Las Vegas was ass. So,
so I like this more than Leaving Las Vegas. Kudrow, what do you think?
I mean, I put Leaving Las Vegas at a B. So,
Okay, so you like Leaving Las? Okay, so it will set it below Leaving Las Vegas. Or wait, you guys got conflicted. Okay, what about Racing with the Moon? Do we think
I still think Leaving Las Vegas was a much more interesting character study.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
But
I'll take your word for it, and I'll agree it should go behind Leaving Las Vegas.
Racing with the Moon. I barely remember what Racing with the Moon was even about now. That movie was so forgettable.
Wow. Wow. All right, Quinn, what do you think about Racing with the Moon versus Vampire's Kiss?
I thought Racing with the Moon was better
All right, then.
than Vampire's Kiss.
Bottom
but-
of the seats here.
Yeah, I think that's a solid placement.
All right. Vampire's Kiss sits in the C tier.